Welcome back to City Trends. I'm your host, George Miller, and I have my next guest with me. And this is something that's actually close to my heart because I teach at the adult school, and he's going to share about how the dynamics of the adult school are changing and some of the programs and the directions of the adult schools are changing. I have with me John Werner. John, can you share a little bit with the audience some of the changes that are happening in the adult schools?
Sure. My name is John Werner, and I'm the Executive Director of the Sequoia's Adult Education Consortium. I'm also the California Adult Education Central Section President. That spans an area representing adult education from Bakersfield to the Stockton area, and the Association of California School Administrators Region 11 Adult Education Rep. So I handle about a 5-county area through the Valley. Formerly an adult school principal and worked in administration in adult school. I've been in education for about 16 years now. Adult education has undergone a lot of changes in the last few years specifically. You know, we have programs that serve a wide variety of populations. If it's someone looking for a high school diploma or GED or high school equivalency, we typically think of an adult school and having that type of service. We also do a lot of courses for recent immigrants, so that would include an ESL, a citizenship preparation. Some programs are offering driver's license preparation as either a standalone or part of those courses so that people can get ready for a driver's license. Adult schools also do a lot of career technical type of training, so short-term, less than a year, sometimes down to 6 to 8 week training programs that give people very specific skills to engage new career opportunities. And those can be really advantageous to people. Once you've got a diploma and that sort of piece of your education built in, you want to go after some more technical training, maybe a licensure or something like that, like a medical license in MA or CNA or an LVN or popular types of programs, culinary arts in that field as well. People want to get a little better job and up their earning potential a little bit, and so adult schools help them out with that. In California, we have a couple new program areas that we address also. One would be courses or programs that support adults who work with school-age children in tutoring, and we also work in pre-apprenticeship to apprenticeship programs as well, and programs that support not quite parent development, community-based programs. A lot of our K-12 friends still do that, but it's helping parents or those that work with tutoring populations to get upskilled for that. So, my big message is always that, and I'll share a little bit about, there's a big deal going on in adult education right now, especially in California, and if you haven't heard, I want to spread the message on that. But the real big deal in adult education is really for those that we serve, the people that need to up their education a little bit. They're looking to get a little better job. George, I think about, I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids at home, and I think about the dad who's working overtime, he's working weekends, he's having to work Sunday to make ends meet, or the mom that's having to do that. And when we can upskill or get that person into a better employment situation, it's a big deal for them. Now they can maybe get Sunday off or Saturday off and do soccer games with their kids, or baseball games, or practice in the evenings. That's a big deal in adult education. So my focus always starts with, how do we help people in the community upscale, increase their earning potential, and then play a role in helping them get to where they want to be and accomplish their goals.
Yes, and I've seen this firsthand. I teach CNA program, I teach MA, and I also teach business programs at Central Adult. And one of the things that I saw with the CNA program, I had a young lady, and I think you've probably seen this story 100 times over, but she comes to me, and this is her first time back in school in about 3 years. She's 20 years old. She dropped out of high school because she got pregnant in high school, and she had just got her GED, and now she's in my CNA program. And the CNA program, it's entry-level medical program, but it's very fast-paced because we run it over about a 5-week.
Quick moving.
Yeah, it's very quick, fast-paced program. And the first couple weeks, she's failing out. But the thing that was funny about that is I'm watching her interact with her peers, and I'm not noticing any social deficits. There's no communication deficits. And when I'm lecturing, her questions are appropriate. but yet she's still failing out. So I pull her over to the side and I said, what's going on with you? Because I think you could be doing better than you are. And the first thing that came out of her mouth is, I'm not a good student. I got pregnant in high school. I just barely got my GED. I'm not a good student. And I said, here's the thing. For you to be successful, you got to give yourself a chance. You got to change the way you see yourself before I'm able to help you. So what I want you to do for the next 3 weeks is I want you to just apply yourself. Give it 100%, and I'm going to help you wherever I can. And then at the end of the program, if you're still not successful, we'll find something else for you. But give yourself an honest chance. And she ended up passing the program and passing her state boards. But the thing that was really that moved me is at the end we had our graduation, and this was in a school down south, and we're starting to put the stuff away, and I'm sitting next to the director, and this mom, she comes running up the aisle, and she throws her arms around me, and she's bawling, and she's like, you guys changed my daughter's life. And that, you can't put a price on that. And I talked to, there's several students that I've had in similar situations, and I talked to them over the years, and they still keep in touch. I had another lady, she called me, and she just finished a respiratory therapy program in LA. And it's all because of those entry-level vocational programs that we have at the adult school. Because what happens is a lot of times you'll see them, they come in, and several of them will be struggling, and that's why they're there. And then they have a success. And then you see the light come on, and they have that paradigm shift in their self-image. And then they're like looking for the next thing. Okay, what can I do after this? You know, LVN, RN, Psych Tech, or the business programs. Oh, you know what? I want to get my degree in this. I want to become an engineer. And initially, all they were trying to do is learn how to weld two pieces together to get a job. But then they see, oh my gosh, I've moved forward and I was successful at something, and they're looking at the next level. And I think you find that too in the programs that you're overseeing.
And that's part of that big deal message. You know, adults come in, we're all motivated by the same sorts of things as adults. We're motivated by, as I mentioned, having a little better job, a little better income. Everybody wants to have an easier time paying the bills, buying the bread and the eggs. We're also motivated by more time with our family, more of that valuable time that we get to spend building family relationship. And then the other big deal is self-esteem, pride, self-efficacy. And that's, you know, Dr. Dre said you can't put a price on a peace of mind, right?
Yes.
And that's a piece of that. That's a component of that. And adult ed programs, for people that come into them, that's a piece of what they get. That's a piece of the big deal. It's a good, quality, welcoming environment. It's well structured. Our adult education programs in this valley, whether it's, you know, Central Adult, Fresno Adult School at the Cesar Chavez campus, Tulare Adult School, Visalia. We have a dozen others, Hanford, Corcoran. They're all up and down the valley, and they're local. They're convenient and close to people. You don't have to do it by traveling. You know, a lot of times they'll have service really close to where you're at. Clovis Adult is another one. They're a good environment that welcomes people in, supports them, understands the struggles that they might be facing, because there's a lot of things outside of school, outside of education, in addition to, wow, I don't feel like I'm a good student, that people need support with. And that's what adult programs do very well. We talk about the big hug in adult education, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes adult education gets, I don't know if it's a bad rap, but they get the rap of, well, it's a big hug. Well, they're very sophisticated in their education programs. They really are. They're cutting edge. They are meeting demand needs for economic growth. They're meeting employer needs. They address regional economic growth development plans. We work with those groups. But adult education provides resource and access to resources for people who need that extra support, so they can focus on that education piece. And it brings all those big deals to them. It brings the big deal of new horizons. It brings the big deal of, well, I was never an education type. I was never, you know, school wasn't for me. Hey, look, guys, school wasn't for me either. I went to high school and never thought I'd work back in education again. I thought the people that worked in education were a little odd. And here I am back in education, right? And so we all have a place there. We all have a place, and we all belong in there. Whatever the motivation is, whether it's simply, you know, going back and and getting a little skill upgrade in a profession that you work in. It's a diploma or GED. It's learning English to engage engage with our citizenship processes. That's a big deal for people to become a citizen. It's a big step in their life, and we support that as well. And it's just a great industry to be a part of. And I really got to tip my hat to the educators in adult education that are working in there. They've been through some rocky times, since the big recession rollback, when school districts and education agencies felt the impact, like all of us did, of the recession. Adult school got onto some thin ice for a little while.
There was a time where they thought they might go away, I think, right?
Really, really true. That's an accurate statement. When I came, I've been in adult education for a few years now. When I came in, one of my first concerns, I'll be honest about it, was, well, is this something that's going to stick around? Is this a smart career choice for me? I'm thinking about my wife and kids that I'm buying milk and eggs for at home too, right? And paying rent. And we've done some work to secure adult education statewide in the state of California. Most recently, we have a $500 million adult ed block grant that's written into legislation that supports the adult ed initiatives and programs, that were after the objectives, whether it's transitioning students into a next job or into a next educational setting. It's accelerating that process. It's filling regional gaps where maybe adult ed did get scaled back a little bit. It's leveraging regional structures, things that already exist in our communities we can use to make adult education better. Whether it's meeting those objectives, but we've got this statewide initiative that's really driven at doing that. And it's a compliment, I think, to our state lawmakers that they've focused on that. They've made that a priority. We've had a lot of local school boards that have held on during those rough times to their adult ed program. Statewide, we saw something interesting happen. It seemed that some of the very large, they all faced cutbacks in adult education since about 2008, right? Everybody got about a third of their programs scaled back statewide. Statewide, about 50% of programs were dissolved completely. They disappeared. And in that, some of the very large ones, I think of like Oakland Unified, lost an adult ed program, and a lot of the very small programs. Well, in an area like, Fresno, Central Valley, South San Joaquin Valley, we were hit by the small rural communities losing their adult ed programs. Their local K-12 school boards tried to hold on, but with all the cutbacks that they faced in the recession times, they had to focus on, the K-12, and unfortunately, some of them had to make some really tough decisions about adult education.
And that was a tough time.
Very tough.
The vocational programs, and I think that the federal government has realized how valuable those are. Academia is critical, and I made my kids go to school, at least get your bachelor's. My daughter's finishing her master's right now. But one of the things that I really instilled in them too is to get a trade, get a vocation.
Yes.
Because sometimes one side of the house dries up. Academia may dry up, and you always have that trade to fall back on. Like, I'm teaching right now, but I have my nursing license, and should something ever happen and I get laid off, there's always a need for nurses. And I tell them the CNA programs like that, that's a great place to start. And keep that active forever. Even if you go on, I have a student getting her master's now, but she keeps her CNA active because should something ever come up, she knows she can go to work the next day with that CNA.
She can go on. And what we also know in working with local businesses, involving local businesses, we know that college ready and career ready in many respects are a lot of the same things in today's economy. When employers come looking for a well-qualified candidate, they want the soft skills. I like to call them professional skills because they're the first things, show up to work on time, know how to take instruction from a supervisor, know how to be on a team and participate with that team, and know how to work towards a common good of the business. I like to call those professional skills because they're the first ones that'll get you fired if you don't have them.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
But the soft skills, right?
Yes.
We call them soft skills too. And then the technical side of engaging workforce and the skills that employers need, reading at a capable level, having some foundational math skills to engage in the workplace are critical. So some of the skills that we look at, the career readiness, the college readiness, they're very similar. They're very closely aligned to each other. So when you go back to school, you know, and you're looking at going to an adult ed program, they are thinking about helping you build those skills the day you walk in. That's part of all the programs now. They're talking with you, if you're doing a high school diploma, about workforce readiness. In the ESL class, you know, we used to ask our ESL candidates to talk in English about culture. Tell us about mealtime, you know, in the country that you're from, whether it's Russia or Mexico or a Southeast Asian country or the Middle East. Talk to us about mealtime. Now what we'll ask our students to talk to us about a typical day at work in the country that you're from.
Good.
So even in those small ways, we are shifting what we do to focus on career and college readiness. Not everybody has to go on and get a 4-year degree or a master's degree. If you want to, Adult Ed will help you get there. We help pave that path out. And it may even be an avenue that you haven't thought of yet if you're going back to school. But our big focus is getting you back to or getting you to a better employable position quickly. We want it to happen quickly for you because, you know, time's our most valuable resource. Adults are, when they engage education, when they go back to school, adults don't have a lot of time to take off full time and spend 2 or 3 years or 4 years going to school. They have kids to feed. They've got bills to pay. They've got themselves to take care of. So we do it quickly, yeah.
And that's where the you know 6-week to 12-month programs make a big difference. And adult school, I think it's safe to say they're here to stay.
Here to stay, and we need community support. You know, I want to challenge businesses. I want to challenge other local agencies. Engage your adult schools. Talk to them about ways that you can work together to improve the service they provide. The adult schools are wide open to that type of help, and they're as close as looking up your local adult school and just call them, talk to them.
Outstanding. Now, if someone in our audience wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Sure. So I'm going to recommend go to your local adult school, talk to them about getting into training. If you need to talk to me specifically about the Sequoia's Adult Ed Consortium, they can get onto our website. It's www.sequoiasadulted.com. I'm available through contact there. I'm on Facebook through the Sequoia's Adult Ed group, and I can be reached in those 2 ways. Or if you want my email, it's a long one. sequoiasadulteddirector@gmail.com is my direct link. But go down to your local adult school program, support locally, work locally, and that's the best avenue.
Outstanding. Thanks a lot for coming on. We have to cut to a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Outstanding.